Hey guys, welcome back to the Lit Mag Lab podcast. I'm Jazz Marie, aka Vevna Forrow. So, previously on the podcast, I was giving you a tour of the Rebus. So, if you're curious and want to listen back, do check it out. They focus on tarot, which is really cool. And yeah, again, you can watch my screen out on YouTube, Spotify, and elsewhere, and even Substack. So, yeah, today we will be taking a look, as you can see, at Paranoid Tree, and yeah, they are, it looks like a press. So yeah, I came across them, I think through Sub Club, and I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. So yeah, I thought I might as well check it out. Yeah. So we'll head back to their site a little bit here, but let's go to their Chill Subs overview page to learn more about them. So looks like to date they've been bookmarked 637 times, and yeah, they do have some recommendations in here, right? Beautiful design, hidden gem, actually inclusive, bold and weird, great editors. I just love them. So yeah, those are the votes that were placed in thus far, and yeah, so they are based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And yeah, that's where I'm actually originally from, if you may recall, from the series. And I just shared a couple episodes ago on, yeah, through Dippity, right, my own lit mag. On, I'm very, again, heartbroken by all of the events happening to date. It's just really a lot of heavy things, right, back to back. So just want to say that again. Yeah, so they were founded, it looks like in 2020, and it states here in their about section, right? So frame it on your wall, store it on your bookshelf, or tuck it in your wallet like a picture of your children. Either way, the story literally unfolds with the page. So by that, they're, I think, meaning they have, right, zines, right? So yeah, I don't know how many guys are familiar with zines, but for the most part, I think a lot are. I was checking out their social media account, and they have these really cool foldable zines that they do. And yeah, so we'll head over to their site and take a look in a little bit at those. Yeah. So it says top tier stuff, not Paris review, but close enough. Their acceptance rate, it looks like editor reported, is 3%, and Chill Subs tracker showing about 2.6%. So pretty tough. Yeah, tight their acceptance rate. Payment is $50. There's no fee to submit, guys. So no fee, and they offer payment of $50 as of 2026. So it says nominates for prizes, yes, and yeah, their print again. Average response time looks like 67 days. Editor reported is about 60 days. So yeah, close there, yeah. And yeah, so it looks like they have received or pieces they nominated or won a best microfiction. Industry rankings, right? 44 out of 1,830. Breck top 1,000 overall, 624 out of 1,000, and yeah, Breck top 1,000 Flash, 140 out of 1,000. I don't always read these, but yeah, again, and yeah, then we have the masthead. So co-founder and content director is Alyssa Blum, and then yeah, managing editor Shiksha Data, and then co-founder and art director Jess Ecker Stroffer, and then web editor Andrea Nelson. So I apologize. We'll go on the site too. Sometimes it takes a while, as I share in the series, to update staff or things like that, but that could be current. And yeah, so yeah, they have actually open calls here, right? So let's take a look. So it says for, literary fiction, micro, up to 400 words, always open, right? Yeah, pay $50 again, no fee. Memoir, always open, up to 400 words, up to 5 pieces, pay $50, no fee. General poetry, right? Up to 5 pieces. It also has prose poetry right here too. So pay $50, no fee. So yeah, it looks like everything is showing up to 5 pieces, pay $50, no fee. And again, the difference between memoir and their fiction calls, right, is just that up to 400 words, and then poetry, right, up to 5 pieces. So always open and no fee and pays 50. So yeah, pays $50. So that's awesome. So I think that's pretty much it, showing publishes monthly. I don't always expand these, but you can check out the overview page again. Yeah, if we look at the breakdown, now this is available in the extension as well that I've shown you in the past couple episodes, but in terms of Chill Subs magazine stats extension from Chrome. But yeah, you can see 135 submissions tracked through Chill Subs, and it looks like out of those, 2 were accepted and 75 rejected, and there's some pending here. Withdrawn 9, didn't respond 1. So yeah, and showing submission volume, I don't know when this was last updated, but $75 a month, right? It could be more than that. We don't know. So that fluctuates, I think for a lot of lit mags, but over time, I think it does average out for a lot of places. Now, yeah, they do have some poets and writers. It looks like who plugged in pieces that were accepted or published right through them. So yeah, let's head over to Duotrope real quick too. So you can see here, right? Their AI policy is here, right? So human created work only, no AI use allowed. Now I think this is a better overview in their about section that they have on Duotrope here about them. So Paranoid Tree Press is an independent hybrid lit mag slash art zine based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Each month they create a custom illustrated zine featuring original fiction or poetry. Then they hand address and mail them to their print subscribers who help support their goal of building a sustainable micro press that pays every contributor. So it says published 12 times a year. And yeah, it looks like they have pretty fast to date, response times, but definitely more challenging, right, in terms of like acceptances. And yeah, same thing. It's a breakdown, that matches chill subs, right, of their, requirements in terms of length and everything and the focus and genre, right? So yeah, so that's Paranoid Tree Press on Duotrope. Now let's head over to their website. So yeah, this is paranoidtree.com. And yeah, so looks like they have a volume here, 61. Yeah, that looks cool. We'll come back to that. So they have their latest issues. Oh yeah, so this is their latest issue. So this is how it's laid out. I get it. So yeah, volume 61, volume 60, volume 59, volume 58, right? And the titles. I always love seeing the titles and focuses of, zines. I think zines are awesome. There are a lot of, lit mags out there, even just like I myself personally have, in the past totally picked up various zines that others made, by hand, right, from Etsy. And there's some really cool beautiful ones out there too, and I love illustrated zines. Again, I think visual art is another traditional visual art is another, really great way to, add more life to your publication a little bit further to really make things stand out. And yeah, so yeah, they have the read button here. So, on right, Norman Rockwell paints Detonants and the Red Sea is Red, a story by Evan Wambike and art by Laura Weiler. I apologize, I completely mispronounced all the names there. So I'll click on read, and yeah, so this is how they have it laid out, right? They have the volume, and then they have, it looks like an example, right? Samples from the publication, right? So it looks like a couple samples from the publication, right? And then the poet's bio, right? And yeah, and then the artist, right, that has contributed to it, right? So yeah, and then you can get it in print. Let's see where this takes us out to. So yeah, it takes us out to a shop to pick up and order it, right? So the print edition, right, is 11 by 17 fold out zine printed digitally on 70-pound paper. And yeah, so that's cool. They actually have photographs of it so you can see, which is really cool. So that's what it's looked like. They have envelopes for them, and yeah, and it looks like also they have like an overview of it as well on these yeah, on this. So yeah, that's cool, right? Very cool. Yeah. So then they have you might also like, right? They have different zines, and it looks like this is $10, right, for it, right? I'm not sure how many pages it is though for their zines are averaging, but yeah, they have, it looks like some discounted ones too. In the past, right? This one sold out. It was reduced from $10 to $3. And yeah, again, these, right? So yeah, it looks like they've done some reduced prices of $3 and then averaging $10 perhaps, right? For their zine series. So yeah, really cool. I'm gonna click on a couple more of these because I'm just curious. Yeah. So the layout is consistent, right? They have sample pieces, and it looks like it's always an illustrator, for each zine, and then a writer, right, for it, right? So yeah. So yeah, then they have the process of how it works, and I love this little video that they have here that flip through. So 50% lit mag, 50% art zine. So that's interesting, right? I think that combination is very cool. So yeah, so, number one, it says here, right? How it works. They make zines, right? Each month, again, they publish a new zine consisting of custom illustration and a piece of original fiction, creative nonfiction, or poetry. The print zine folds out into an 11 by 17 poster. Select issues per year printed via risograph machine. And then, yeah, secondly, you subscribe, right? When you subscribe each month, they'll send a new zine straight to your actual mailbox. Every zine arrives in a hand addressed, hand stamped envelope. So, yeah, I really love that emphasis that everything is done by hand and traditionally made, and bound. Again, I mentioned this podcast. I would love to do traditional hand-bound zines myself, but can't, right? And yeah, it does. It's a lot of work, right? Actually, and it's awesome that they do that. And then third, right, they pay contributors, which is really awesome, right? All of their profits paid forward toward their next issue, covering contributor payments and printing costs. Zine by zine, they are building a supportive, sustainable, independent space in the literary world. So yeah, they've been around. It looks like coming up here, right, 6 years, and yeah. So I'm not sure where subscribe takes us out to. I'm just gonna click on it. I wonder what it will take me out to. So yeah, they have these print subscription options here. It looks like now it looks like $60 for every 12 months a year, right? $30 for every 6 months, and then a gift subscription, 15 bucks. So yeah, these are really cool, right? So a 1 year print subscription, right, means each month they'll send you the latest issue of Paranoid Tree straight to your mailbox, right? Subscription charges automatically renews on a yearly basis. So yeah, those look really cool. I always really love enjoy seeing again the titles and cover art of zines, and yeah, so that's awesome, that they have these subscription options, right, that they do. So, yeah. And then they have an FAQ and subscription section. Let's click on the FAQ section. I'm just curious. So, yeah, subscription FAQ. So, I just subscribed. When will I get my first issue? Your first issue, I'm quoting this off their site again. Your first issue will be the newest issue published the month you subscribe. They typically mail out issues around the 20th of each month. It says here, hypothetically, if one of my issues got lost in mail, can you please resend it? And yeah, it says, of course, just contact them and let them know what's missing. And yeah, and then in terms of updating address, right, it says they have a form, right? Yeah, that you can fill out to update your address. So it just looks like that, right? Yeah, so everything's pretty organized and laid out. Yeah, it says their web hosting platform doesn't notify of address changes, so you have to input it manually. And yeah, how do I update billing info and subscription? Again, right, they have, right, a login button, right, at the bottom of the page or located here, right, to update, um, yeah, information, right? So yeah, it looks like they have everything laid out for that in terms of setting it up. So yeah, these fields, right, update subscription, mailing address, manage your subscription on the subscription dash FAQ page, right? So yeah, that's really cool. And then they have a newsletter, right? Sign up for mail address. You can search their archive, right? And yeah. So we're going to go back here. And yeah, so I think that's cool. It's very, clear and straightforward. And yeah. So yeah, let's check out their, submit section here. So yeah, again, always free, always open, always paid. And yeah, so it says the basics, right? So again, $50 per piece plus 5 copies of the final printed zine. So they are giving 5 copies of the printed zine. That's awesome. Again, they have their word limit. I've already covered this, so I'm not going to repeat it again. But again, fiction, creative, nonfiction, prose, poetry. It says, please do not send verse lineated poetry due to space constraints in print. So again, yeah, they have their limits, right? 400 words, right? For fiction, creative, nonfiction, and up to 5 pieces for poetry. Simultaneous submissions are allowed and encouraged, and please consolidate your submissions in one file. It says here they collect submissions via Google Forms because it is free to use, which allows them to allocate their income to paying their contributors and covering their operating fees. They know it's less user friendly than other submission managers. So yeah, yeah. Again, Google Forms is used by a lot of lit mags and journals and presses. Even it is a free alternative. However, I showed you in the past episodes a while ago, right? Tally Forms is pretty cool too, and we're on Subfolio. I think Subfolio is pretty, low cost, right, and quite friendly. And yeah, very few are out there, so that's totally, yeah, you just need something, right, to intake submissions and to manage it. Everyone has a system that works for them and for their structure. Yeah, a lot of the money going to submission management systems, yeah, it's true, that could be allocated towards, throughout the year. The monthly bill could be allocated towards paying writers and other things, you want to do for your series. But yeah, I think whenever you're dealing with thousands of submissions or a bunch, right, then it becomes really a bit tricky for sure. But yeah, so response time, right? So about 2 months through email, they'll get back to you, right? If you have been waiting for a response for a while, right? After a few months, you can check, again, spam before reaching out. Double check it's not lost in spam or anywhere else or your email, right? So withdrawing, right? It says you just, email them on withdrawals, right? And yeah, they have an address plugged in there. So again, it says because of their limited printing schedule, they do not consider previously published work at this time. And yeah, and then they have a previous contributors section here. So because of limited printing schedule, this says please kindly allow a span of 24 months after publication before sending more work for consideration. But in the meantime, it says please, know that they will remain your biggest fans. So yeah, so they do have a wait span. They're like, after getting acceptance with them and everything, right? Wait, 24 months after publication, before sending more work through. So yeah, and that is longer than most places I've seen, in terms of that. But, I typically have seen a year, but 2 years. Yeah, I think it's important to highlight new voices and writers, absolutely. So it is good to have a policy in place. I think, especially when you're dealing with like a series like this, like Zine and press related, right? Chapbooks, even, right? It's a good idea to space that out before others keep sending more work, right? And yeah. So again, no AI, right? Their core mission is to pay human writers and artists for their creativity and originality. They are not accepting AI generated work, so that's awesome. And yeah, so very straightforward. So if I click on the submit button, it's going to take me out to the Google form. Now I passed over. Yeah, so again, it reiterates their guidelines. They have, right, required field: email, first name, last name, pronouns, and about you, right? 3 to 5 sentences, right? Tell us about any publishing credits you're proud of, links to your social media, website, portfolio, title of your story or piece, right? Yeah, title of your story, right? Fiction, creative nonfiction, prose, poetry. So upload your story here, right? Max 400 words each. Limit 5 pieces consolidated into one file, right? Double spaced if possible. They accept PDF and document file types. Yeah. So it says prose poetry, right? Now, if you're not familiar with prose poetry, again, highly encourage you to, there are a lot of great prose poetry collections out there, even several examples online. You could, of course, pick up, zines from Paranoid Tree Press to familiarize yourself with what they're looking for and all of that. They also have, right, again, samples on their site, of course, too. Besides, doing that, right, you could, of course, right, see how they've published past work and everything, right, and for their calls. So yeah, so for that open submission window they have, right, in that form, right, it highlights that, right, prose poetry, not verse. So yeah, about, right, so yeah, again, that's Alyssa Blum, the co-founder and content director, and then that's Jess Ecker Stroffer, a co-founder and art director. And yeah, and then they have editor and editorial assistant, right? And yeah, it looks like they're all based in the Twin Cities, right? And Minnesota, right? Yeah, that's awesome. Again, I grew up in Northeast Minneapolis, and yeah, so I'm very familiar with the Twin Cities and all of that. So I thought this was so cool, what they've established and created. Zines are really awesome. And there's something, again, about, handmade zines that just makes it really, it just adds, again, that human touch, when something's handmade. And yeah, versus something that is just, mass produced through, like, a cookie cutter machine or something, and yeah. Obviously, a lot of lit mags and journals, they resort to PODs, right? Even myself, I've resorted to PODs, but absolutely, if I could, I would do everything by hand from like that, myself too. But I have some physical things on. I won't be able to ship and mail all of that out myself by any means. So yeah, I think they have absolutely a very cool series. So if you go out to their social media, channel, actually look at this, right? So they have some really cool, open folding, right, that they do. on their social media that you can see, right? And each one, right? And I think it's really cool, right? So yeah, I highly suggest you check out, right, the reels on their account. You can really see what it looks like the inside of them and the folds, right, of these zines that they've created, right? So yeah, they've done a lot, right? Yeah, it looks like again they're up to right 61, right? So yeah, they have a ton. So we go to their store. Let's go to their back issues here. Let's look at these. So yeah, it looks like they even have like zine bundles, and yeah, so there's a lot in here, right? All of them. Now, some of them, right, I believe are sold out, but still, right? And yeah, they're $10 each, right? So yeah, so that's really cool. So yeah, it looks like these are strictly print, and yeah, I know some presses, you may recall Fine Print Press, right? Their episode, I don't remember what number it was on the series, but if you look at that, I did share, right? I've seen some presses, what they do once something goes out of print or is no longer available, they put it in an archive of some kind or digitally available. There are a couple ways to facilitate that, but yeah. So yeah, anyways, I think it's cool, right? Again, when you're doing a series like this, right, it's like limited edition and they eventually, go out of print, right? And yeah, and sell out, right? So yeah, I'm not sure if they ever restock these or once they're sold out, they're no longer available, but yeah, so that's really cool though. These titles look really awesome. I definitely am going to check it out, right? So yeah, and try and pick some up when I get a chance. So yeah, the artwork is really cool. So I'm just scrolling through so you guys can see. There's one, Medusa calls a monster, treasures, yawn, someone else's house, movie theater. Yeah, some really cool ones. Yeah. For the dogs, I have a dog, so this one caught my eye too. So yeah, look at these illustrations, right? Very cool, right? It's almost like comic panels, right? Very cool. Dog view squirrels. Oh gosh, did you see that, guys? That's hilarious on my screen. So dogs view squirrels in an absolute evil in need of retribution, especially when they come with lasers from Mars. So yeah, definitely they're very humorous, and yeah, so they do have some great previews of the zines here, and it comes in a very nice envelope here. So yeah, they have subscription FAQ donate. So, my one comment would be I think it is always nice to make a note about, international, right, submissions and things of that nature. Obviously, if someone were to read bios or something, they probably could figure that out or picked up zines. But I think it is always a good idea to mention whether or not a place intakes, right, international submissions or how they go about that, or if they do international shipping for the series, or it doesn't matter where you're located or anything like that, right? So, and I think when you're dealing with a zine series or doing any shipping and delivery and things of that nature, giving contributor copies, I think it is always a good idea to specify somewhere on the site, right, about international submissions or international shipping, or whether submissions are accepted from all over the globe or just through the US, right? Because that's not clear to me at this very point at 2026. So, yeah, but everything is very clean and laid out, right? Yeah. And yeah, so it looks like they have a donation section here, right? And yeah, so again, 100% of Paranoid Tree's profits and donations go toward funding the creation of their zines and paying their contributors. And yeah, so that's very cool. So I think we've covered everything, on their site. Again, I just made the note about, right, that. So they had their mission and values, right, again, right? And yeah, they can't cure capitalism, it states here, but they can help artists survive. They believe writers and artists should be paid for their work, not paying for others to consider it. They are driven to honor that creativity is passion and it is also labor. Through their unique collaborative publishing process, they invest in bold, imaginative work that makes the most of every inch of the page and helps create a richer, more inclusive creative environment for us all. So yeah, that's awesome. I love seeing publications do that, not have any fees and pay writers for work. Again, I discontinued, right, submission fees at my lit mag, just my lit mag, and back in July of 2025. But we're not at the point yet where we're able to pay contributors or anything like that. We just have like an annual contest, right, at most, right, for a cash award. But yeah, I think this is really cool. Like they have a very unique series. Now, in how it works, right? I think, it would be nice to understand how they maybe select art, right, for the zines or that whole process with the artist, right, a little bit. Because that wasn't clear to me myself, right? Are they, you know, right, selecting artists, pairing them with the writer's work, or how is that working in terms of that, like, the facilitation of artwork, right? That wasn't entirely clear to me, and the difference between, like, the artists they work with, like the payments involved with that, or how that really works. Or sometimes I know some series get donations as well in terms of artwork and stuff, so I'm not really sure how that really works at Paranoid Tree. Alongside, right, I mentioned the notes about in terms of international, or if it's strictly for US submissions, or those, based in US, or open to others. I don't know how that really works. So those would be my notes here, and then I think it's always a good idea to specify how you're paying others, right? Because not everyone is comfortable on the same payment system. For the most part, others are willing to create an account, or facilitate one to receive payment, but not everyone in existence. It does happen, sometimes. So yeah, their mission and values are very clear, and yeah, I think they're awesome. So again, they have a story here. So this is a note from Jess and Alyssa back in April 20th, 2020. So it says here, I probably could have started with this first, but I'm just going to quote this off a little bit, right? So it says 4 years ago, the two of them met on staff at Paper Darts, a stunning beacon of literary goodness. They owe so much to being involved in this magazine, the people they met along the way. Paper Darts' influence on them was so significant that this past winter, or back then, right, and it looks like, right, years back, right, and this past winter, they departed the magazine to build their own, right? A new literary venture called Paranoid Tree. So, months ago, when naming Paranoid Tree, they hadn't foreseen it debuting during a global pandemic, right? And arguably a very paranoid time for everyone. They, again mentioned they feel like, we're all one lightning strike away from crumbling into a pile of ash. But here we are, and somehow they're feeling pretty optimistic. So they're stating this, they're optimistic because art and literature are so crucially steadying in this time, and they're motivated to share amazing work with the world. You won't catch them using the phrase now more than ever around, here it's more like now, because always, right, the world may be falling apart, but we will always need to share stories, look at beautiful art, and create joy and meaning and community together. So yeah, it says here they are, a monthly zine composed of, again, one micro piece of fiction, creative nonfiction, or prose poetry, one full page illustration, one single sheet of paper. So yeah, that's awesome, right? And then they reiterate, right, the importance of getting paid for work. So yeah, yeah, so it says you can access them in two ways, right? Digitally via pay what you want system, right? Their zines from the fall, it looks like back then. I don't know if that's still true today. In print via their monthly or yearly subscriptions. So it's not clear to me on what the digital aspect they're still doing that, right? But it looks like the print series is ongoing, right? And yeah, they really strive for, highlighting diverse voices. Absolutely, you can see on my screen, right? And yeah, so I wanted to emphasize that. I totally agree with that. I think, again, it's really important, right? Art in general, right? And literature, right? It is something that will always, always be needed. I 100% agree with that, 1,000% agree. And yeah, traditional art and writing, right? Human created from the heart, right? And yeah, so that's cool. I love seeing origin stories and stuff like that. I think I shared with you my origin story on Dippity, but actually there's a little, I'm going to be honest with you, there's a little bit more to that origin story of Dippity Lit Mag than what I put in that summary there. A lot more, actually, but I shared that a little bit sort of in across the series. But yeah, I think it is beneficial for Lit Magazine journalists to share their origin story and how they came to create their name. And yeah, again, I mentioned, a lot of lit magazine journals, I'm sure you guys know, were started right around the time of the pandemic, and presses even, but some of them closed down, right? And some of them stayed. And I think it's amazing to see, the series that came from, very tough times, right, in the world. And even now, there are incredibly heartbreaking times, and we still have so many amazing lit magazine journals still, rolling out publications, supporting one another. I think that's really cool to see. So yeah, again, I just want to clarify, right? So on their chill subs page too, and on their calls, right? You just want to, again, it's prose poetry, right, under here, right? So yeah, that's awesome again. And yeah, if we go back to Paranoid Tree, right, press, we go back to right their right call section. And yeah, oh, I already had it selected. I didn't see that. But yeah, if we go there, right? So again, prose poetry, right? So yeah, just reiterating that, up to 5 pieces, right? And yeah, so I think that's great that they, strive to, continuously pay writers no fee and always open, right? That's incredibly hard to do. They do have a team, so it is possible to do that, So, again, I reiterated this on the series, even through Lit Mag News, others, publications have stated this, and other editors even, right, implementing no fees right now. It can be hard, to do that, but there are different ways you can go about do that. Now, again, I've covered that in the series and elsewhere, so totally take the time to listen back to those episodes. But obviously, Lit Magazine Journals, donations help, but there's some editors I've seen in the series, right, and shared, right. Some totally do, fund things themselves, or they use funds from the series itself to fund everything, to, collectively, and to pay writers their work. So yeah, as you saw, in, a couple episodes back, right, some lit magazine journals, right, have workshops or editorial feedback they do, or additional services, right. So I think the zine series that Paranoid Tree Press has created, out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, is really stellar. Definitely got to pick up some zines, right, from, my home state, Minnesota, and where I grew up, right. So I think it's really cool. Definitely caught my eye. I was like, oh, that's awesome. They're based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And yeah, so definitely, check it out, guys, and submit. I've always been a fan of zines. I picked up quite a few. They're friends. Even internationally, I came into contact with that. I took like zine making classes. I wasn't over there internationally with them, but they were sharing, right, some of the photos and their process, and doing all of it, from scratch, right, the whole process of making a zine, and the risograph, right. You look into it, it is pretty fascinating. The history of zines and the evolution of them, right. So I think it's cool how Paranoid Tree has this 50% lit mag, 50% art zine, right. And the folding, right, you can see, right. So yeah, I love seeing snippets like that. And yeah, the handmade aspect really, I think, makes Paranoid Tree Press very unique and cool. Obviously, there are some chapbook presses out there too, right, that do everything by hand, but it's hard to do it, to do what they're doing at Paranoid Tree Press. Absolutely, the print subscriptions and keeping track of everything, all of the orders and shipping and delivery. So just a couple things I mentioned, right, that I think it's good to specify, maybe in their FAQ section, in terms of subscriptions and, submission FAQ and stuff. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward, yeah. So that's pretty much it, I think, with paranoidtree.com. So give it a look, right? It looks like they're going to be open, right, for the most part across the year. I don't see anything mentioning otherwise. Of course, they'll probably, there some lit magazine journals take holiday breaks and stuff like that, or things of that nature. Not all, but yeah, definitely, right. They're on social media. It looks like they share a lot of reels too from time to time. So Instagram, Blue Sky, they're on those channels. So yeah, definitely pick up some zines, guys, from Paranoid Tree. So signing off now, and take care, yeah. PS, guys. So here's my PS note for you. So yeah, for those of you unaware, this is a risograph. I think I'm pronouncing it right, but yeah, it looks like that, and they have some photos here. So I don't know how many of you guys are aware of that, but this is off of stencil.wiki. Yeah, and then this is off of Wikipedia. So yeah, very cool technology, right? All kinds of printers in the world, and yeah, so definitely read about that. And yeah, I was just checking out a little bit more of their back issues in store. You know, again, they have like a sale bundle section, single issues, right? And yeah, so they've released tons of zines, you know, on yeah, over the past couple of years for sure, and it's really cool. Um, yeah, so the titles are really fun too, right? Can I make collages on your floor? So yeah, so I think they do a good job again of showing all the photographs and previews of it as well. So yeah. So take care, guys, and bye. Check out Paranoid Tree again.